Okay, so what I wanted to make sure we went over, hopefully we already realized, and the first four seem really, really simple on here, but I'm trying to show you the correlation between what they look like on your piece of paper and how you can use Desmos. It's not going to look exactly the same because Desmos is a coordinate plane. It's not just a number line, but how it translates between the two. So if it's 2 is less than A, so we know we're going to go to 2, start with an open circle. There's not an equal to, so you're going to leave it open, and then you're going to choose a test point. And as you guys have picked up, my favorite's always 0. So is 2 less than 0? And in that case, that's a no. So we're going to shade away from 0. So in the opposite direction. Hopefully you can also, some of you read it backwards. So A is greater than 2. So not 2, but everything larger than is this way. So V is less than or equal to 5. So we're going to go to 5. It says less than or equal to, so we're going to color that in. And then we're going to do a test point. Is 0 less than or equal to 5? In this case, 0 is less than 5. So that means we'll shade in the direction that 0 is, because it is true. And it's that entire line. N is greater than 5. So 5, there's not an equal to, so we're going to leave that as an open circle. And greater than 5, because 0 is not greater than 5, so we shade away from 0. Again, negative 2 is less than or equal to M. There is an equal to. We're going to shade that in. And then we're going to test that 0. Is negative 2 less than or equal to 0? It is, because this is really saying that M is greater than or equal to negative 2. So it's all the greater than values again. So we're going to color to the right again. Now, what I wanted to show you, because I was playing with it this morning, because I think it's fun whenever I can find little hacks and ways around getting around doing too much thinking in math, especially now that everybody's saying Desmos is the way to go. If you look in Desmos, so our first one was 2 is less than A. So 2 is less than X. So the dotted line is the equivalent of an open circle, and it's shaded to the right. So just ignore the up and down portion, but just looking at this x-axis as if that was your number line, like on your piece of paper. And then we had V is less than or equal to, and your less than or equal to is going to be down here. So we could do V. I think it'll let us do, let's see if it'll let us do V. V is less than or equal to 5. It does not, so you want to do X, and that again is because it's a coordinate plane, so it really uses X and Y, and you can cut them off by clicking the colored circle. So again, there's an equal to, so you have a solid line at 5, and then you're going to shade less than, because X is less than or equal to 5. So the takeaway would be to not worry about so much the things that are happening at the top, but just look at your number line. It is a solid line, so we know it's a solid circle, and then it's shaded to the left. We've talked about this before, but we can come in here and you can take out your minor grids and you can make it count by ones. Because typically that's the kind of paper or graph you guys like. It's a little more user-friendly, in my opinion anyway, for sure. And then that's it. And then come back. So solid at 5, shaded to the left, which is exactly what we did. And then we did X is greater than 5. Again, we cut off our purple one. So add 5, open circle, because there is a dash line, and then shade to the right. And right now you're probably rolling your eyes at me thinking, like, that was super easy. I don't even know why I need this. But I'm getting to it. So negative 2 is the last one. Less than or equal to, and it says M, but we're going to change it to an X. And this is also, if you know that you get a little confused when the X is on the opposite side, so on the right side instead of on the left side, this will make sure you can double check that you are doing it right. And again, that solid line means a solid circle, and then shade this direction on your number line. So let's duplicate it. So we'll come back and compare them. Now the fun part is when they get big and furry and hairy like this. We do want to practice. You don't want to not practice these equations, because you're going to desperately need this skill in higher level math. If you can't solve these, we need to get to where we can. And the only way you're going to get better at it is by doing a lot of it. So I'm not by any means telling you to skip solving by this next little hack that I'm about to show you. So we're going to solve this first. PEMDAS, so parentheses first. And we're going to think about distributing first. When we say, like, so multiplication. If these were like terms, then we would combine those first, because that would be our parentheses. We're going to have 106 is less than or equal to 2n Negative 4 times a positive 1 is a negative 4. Negative 4 times 6 is going to give you a negative 24n. Now, just like regular equations, you're going to work on either side and clean up first because we got a great divide. So if there's any like terms on the left side, you want to combine them. In this case, it's just the constant, so the number with no variable. But we do have two n's over here. So we're going to clean those up before we start switching sides and doing inverse operations. So 106 is less than or equal to, I have $2. I spent 24. So I'm going to owe 22n minus 4. Now, what I like to call the stinky kid, or our variable, if it's times by multiplication, I put it in the box. What's on the outside that needs to move? And that's a minus 4, so how would I move that minus 4? You guys tell me. Yes. So I'm going to add 4 because that's the inverse of subtraction, and we're crossing the great divide, or that big green line in this case. Negative 22n. And then we're going to divide by both sides by a negative 22 because that's the inverse of multiplication. So 110 divided by 22 is going to give us a positive 5. So 5 is less than, I didn't get excited. I'm trying to think about two things in my head. What did we just do that's a problem? Or I guess is one of the rules. Things you got to make sure you pay attention to. Big misconception. Things you will mess up a lot. What did we divide by? Divided by negative, so flip the sign. So it's going to be n is now less than or equal to instead of where it was the number is less than or equal to. So flip the sign because we divided by a negative. Great job, great job. I completely just glazed over on that one. So we're going to go to our positive 5. Ooh, negative 5. The answer is negative 5. Man, I'm on a roll today, guys. Positive negative gives us a negative. Negative 5. There is an equal to, so we're going to shade that in. Is 0 less than or equal to negative 5? Or if you want to read from left to right, is negative 5 greater than or equal to 0? 0 is not less than. It would be more because that would be on the right-hand side. So we're going to shade away from 0. Now, besides my silly mistakes, had a long day, I apologize. I'm going to show you how you can take this big ugly guy right here and put it in Desmos. Again, please do not spend this time when it is not a test or it's not something for a grade or when you're doing delta and it doesn't take the points away, not practicing because you really do want to get good at this. And again, unfortunately, the only way you get good at this is by messing up a lot and figuring out where your mistakes are. So I'm giving you this in your back pocket as a backup plan, not as your only plan. So we're going to go to our Desmos calculator, and we're going to put in that big ugly equation just as it was. It was 106 is less than or equal to, which we do have to get that from here, less than or equal to. And then you're going to do 2. And it needs to be an x. It doesn't like the mixed variables, all the different signs. So 1 plus 6x, close parentheses. So that's exactly what we had on our piece of paper. And without doing any math, you see that it is a solid circle at a negative 5 and shaded to the left. Hopefully you will get to where when you look at the number line, kind of like 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we had at the top of our paper, you would just know the answer is without even if you didn't have to shade it. If all you had to do is solve it, the answer is negative 5 and everything's smaller than. So x is less than, equal to, because it's a solid line, negative 5. And so again, from negative 5 to the left, just like we did here, negative 5 to the left. I don't know if that makes you guys as excited as it did me, but it kind of blew my brain the first time. I was like, wow, why do we have to do any math at this rate? So negative 7 times a 3n is going to give you a negative 21n. Negative 7 times a positive 7, because we're doing parentheses first, it's going to give you a negative 49, which is greater than 217 in this case. So again, as you've seen, I make silly mistakes all the time. Have to stay focused. There's all my colored pens and my great divide lines in my stinky kid box. So I'm going to add 49 to both sides. And then with a negative 21n is greater than that 217 and 49. So I owed you 217, and then I paid you 49. Gives me, I still owe you 168. I will say probably more than likely if the numbers are this big and ugly, you are going to be on the calculator active portion of your quiz anyway, or of your EOC. Sorry guys, it's going crazy. We're going to divide by a negative 21. Divide by a negative, divide by a negative. If you divide or multiply by a negative, as you guys told me last time, we're going to switch the sign. Negative divided by a negative is going to give me a positive, and that's going to give me a positive 8. So we're going to go to that positive 8, double check and make sure there's not an equal to. In this case, there's not. And then we're going to check that 0. Is 0 less than 8? It is. So you're going to shade in the direction of 0, I'm sorry, away from 8 towards 0. And again, just like I'd mentioned before, we can go over to Desmos. If I'm talking too fast, tell me. We can plug him in just as is. And that was negative 7, open parentheses. And then 3, change our variable to an x because that's how Desmos likes to communicate better. And it's greater than negative 217. We can get rid of our red one so that doesn't confuse us. And it would be an open circle at 8 and then shaded to the left. Again, you're getting completely out of doing all of the math here. Which is kind of cool, maybe, hopefully. I think so anyway. Can I answer any questions for you guys so far about that? Or do you think it's cool? Do you think it'll be helpful? Do you think it'll help you not miss as many on your inequality solving and trying to graph them and all that good fun stuff? Cool, awesome. So it's not super complicated. Excellent, excellent. I love it. That's great. All right, so then I would say let's try these last couple ones. So remember I told you last time your compound inequalities can be written with the word and in it, or they can be written compounded like the middle, which you're just going to repeat the middle twice. So in the and, you're going to do the exact same thing we did at our top like we were before. We're just going to solve both of them and put them both. And or means it's going to go in 2 different directions, and means you're going to see an overlap. So we take our first one, so 3 plus, and I'm going to just change it to an x here because we're definitely going to go to Desmos in a minute. I'm going to great divide. Some of you probably already have an answer in your head. Stinky kid. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. (2x) is greater than a negative 12. So we're going to divide both sides by 2 because that's the inverse of that multiplication. And 2x is 2 times x. That's a positive 2, so we're going to leave our sign exactly the way it is. And then it's going to be negative 12 divided by 2. So negative 6. We're going to go up to our number line. We're going to go to negative 6. Open. There is no equal to, so we're going to leave that an open circle. And then we're going to shade in the direction, is 0 greater than negative 6? And as I always say, having no money is still better than owing somebody money. Did I totally mess up? It is. You're right. Good call, Derek. Thank you so much. I subtracted when I shouldn't have. So this is going to be a negative 9. It gets even better. Negative 9. And so we're going to go, so it'll be right here, sort of in the middle. No, it's not. Man, I am struggling today, guys. I am so sorry. Usually smarter than this. So 0 is greater than a negative 6, so we're going to shade this way. And I usually stop about halfway through, unless you're using a pencil. Thank you again, Derek. Then negative 6x plus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 29. And then we're going to take our stinky kids at negative 6x. We're going to move that positive 7. We're going to subtract 7, subtract 7. So negative 6x is greater than or equal to, if I spent 29 and then I spend 7, I'm in the whole 36. This is a negative 6, so be careful. Remember, when we divide by our negative, then we're going to flip our sign. So x is now going to be less than or equal to negative and a negative, give us a positive. So we're going to go to that positive 6. It has an equal to, so we're going to shade the equal to. Is 0 less than or equal to 6? 0 is less than or equal to 6, so that's a good one. And it was good there, so we're going to shade towards 0. And your overlap, disregard my mistake green circle, but this in between these two would be your answer for this guy if he's on the graph. Now, to show you that in Desmos and how it would look, maybe you already kind of have a visual plan. But if I go with ands, there's not, if it's not the same in the middle, you're going to have to draw them twice, I believe. I actually haven't messed with those enough now that I'm actually saying that out loud. 2x. I just had this brilliant idea this morning that I should see if we could get away with not doing math on any of these, or how we could get around doing some of the math with some of these. And so greater than or equal to is our second one, to negative 29. And hopefully you can see that negative 9 and that positive 6. And that is the inside. So again, you're thinking about where do they both make both of them true? And that's why it's an and. It makes the first equation true and the second equation true. Now, if this was an or, then we would look in the opposite direction. So it makes this one true or it makes this one true. So they're like two different conversations, so two different shaded portions, versus an and is going to be, it's going to make both sentences true, so it's going to go in the overlap. So for our second one on this page, if you guys did print it, if not, and we'll talk slow for a second and see if you can open up Desmos and see if you can put this one in with me. Number 8, if you're looking at our piece of paper, if you happen to have printed it. If you didn't print it, that's okay. Just follow along with me, but please put it in, because again, I need to know where you're going to mess up, like where your mistakes are, so we can address them and make them better. Like, and we can correct them as soon as possible. So that way you don't get used to Desmos or want to use Desmos and then not do it right, because then that'll just mess us up even worse. Whoops, didn't do what I wanted to. There we go. And then negative 2. This is an or. Do I have any closed circles on this guy? If I was to put this on my piece of paper, do we have closed circles on this guy? Right. Good. Obviously, because you can see the inequalities here, but also notice that those are dashed lines. It's also helpful if you go ahead in your mind and start paying attention to the way these are shading and the dashed lines and the solid lines, because we will start doing inequalities with linear equations in the next few weeks. So this is just, again, practicing and getting used to using Desmos a lot and using it to your advantage. So it would be less than negative 1, greater than 0. So the answer would be less than negative 1 and greater than 0. Number 9 on our page, we'll go back and do some math together and do some computations, because again, if we practice, it's better. When it's written like this, don't panic, just rewrite them. So 5 is less than or equal to, and I'm going to change it to an x, 5x plus 5. Then you get to your next inequality. So back up, 5x plus 5 is less than 55. And then we're going to solve both of these. I'm going to pause and let you try at least this side for right now by yourself. Shouldn't take you too long. And give me 2 seconds and a minute. I'll ask for the answer for you to type it in the chat box. So you're doing this one, and if you finish it fast, go ahead and start the other one. So what did you guys get for the first one? So going back to Desmos, we'll put in 5 is less than or equal to 5x plus 5. You guys got 0, which is perfect. It's solid because there's the equal to, and it should be shaded to the right. This case, it'd be hard. You don't use the test point 0. You would use your test point of either like a +1, or you can try a -1 if you want. You could try 2. You just have to pick another number. Yep. So 0 is less than or equal to all your x values over here. And then your second one, I'm going to bet some of you were fast enough to do it. And then this one, in this case, it's going to be 5x plus 5 is less than 55. And it looks like we don't see our solution. So you just want to scan out. You slide left and right if you want. There it is at +10. So +10, not a solid line. It's a dashed line, and it's shaded in. This is an and because there's the double up of the 5x plus 5. So the part that you would see on your piece of paper or on an answer would be between 0 and +10. Open circle, and solid circle at 0. All right. So then let's try. You guys do number 10. I'll work on another sheet of paper and we'll come back and compare. Practice number 10. See if you can come up with an answer for number 10. Well, it's not frozen. I just moved my pen away because you're working it on your own paper. I'm working over on another sheet of paper, so that way you're not copying my answer. You're trying number 10. You're trying to do either one of those. But thank you for asking, because that would have been silly. You coming up with some answers, guys? Yeah. How about let's do the first one, the one on the left. Well, first one is x is greater than or equal to 7. Yep. And second one is x is less than 6. Good job. Good job. I'm glad you guys are before I showed my work because I made another mistake. I should use a calculator. Quite obviously, especially with a day like today. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So then on your number line, for x is greater than or equal to 7, would be this way. And then x is less than 6 would be an open circle at 6. And then everything this way for that guy.